Brooklyn Nets are, as they say, a problem. Now, I'm not saying that because they thrashed the Pelicans last night, 139-111. And I'm not saying it because Kevin Durant was back after 2 months off with a hamstring injury. I'm saying it because that basketball Voltron is starting to officially take shape. And I say that knowing that the Nets' big three have only played 7 games together this season. Last night, Kevin Durant was back. James Harden is still out. Didn't matter. Just like it didn't matter that Kevin Durant didn't even start last night. Durant initially was listed as a member of the starting lineup for that return, but before the game started, he was moved to the bench. The thinking was if you come off the bench, then you still have him in the second half in the event that the game is close. But it was not close, ever. But it did mean that we got the weird sight of Kevin Durant coming off the bench for the first time in forever. I mean, have you ever seen that before? How weird did that look? In fact, he didn't even get into the game until there were roughly 8 minutes left in the second quarter. The question, though, was how would he look? How much rust would there be to knock off considering he had been out since February? Well, the world found out about 1 minute later. Smooth as ever. Smooth as ever. And I'm not talking about Kevin Durant. I'm talking about Ian Eagle on the US Network. As much love as my man Ian gets for his work, he does not get nearly enough. That is one of the all-time great guys behind a mic. And sure, Durant was not that bad either. How much rust would there be to knock off? How about none? This cat was silk. And yes, even after all these years, it is crazy to think that a 7-footer can do what he does and make it look that smooth, make it look that easy, and especially do all that after missing 2 months. Like, if you're one of those people who are going to come in to clown him and them, he and they are making it nearly impossible to do. So that was a welcome return to Kevin Durant making news on the court instead of on social. Because as weird and as strange as that guy is on Twitter, he's that dominant on the floor. 5 for 5, 17 points, 7 boards, 5 assists in 19 minutes off the bench after missing 2 months. I mean, not only do you have to tip your hat, you've got to acknowledge that that's just straight stupidity. I mean, truly. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. How do you explain a guy who has not played since February 13th just showing up and looking like that? Answer is you can't. There is no explanation. You show up and you put up those numbers, and you're damn right that I'm going to overlook the 6 times he did turn it over. Not that any of it, though, surprised Durant. Well, in terms of easing into the game, he didn't do that. Not at all. My man went right to the deep end. In fact, he went all Thornton Mellon, triple Lindy into the deep end as part of the Nets offense that put on a bleeping show last night. Check these numbers. The Nets hit 79% from the field, including 86% from deep in the second quarter. They put up 79 in the first half. 79 in the first half. Not that long ago, that 79 points was a full game for these guys, and now they're putting it up by halftime. And they did it without James Harden. Like I said, the Nets are a real freaking problem. So exactly where is this all coming from? Well, you can start with Kyrie, for one. They're a problem. He's a problem. Pelicans head coach Stan Van Gundy was there front and center for the whole thing. He thought it was a problem. In fact, he was pissed. He didn't like that at all. He didn't like that play nor anything else that transpired during the beatdown. He said, quote, "We got dominated at both ends of the floor. Totally dominated. We couldn't get out to the three-point line. Our defense was absurd. They totally dominated us," end quote. Well, I repeat, they did put up 79 on you in the first half. And they did it with only 2/3 of their big three. So, yes, I would agree. Your defense was absurd. But so are they. And that's why everybody around the league should be concerned right about now. Yeah, I know. It's only one game. And I also know it's early April, just as I know it's against the Pelicans. But what I'm trying to say here is that this monster, this basketball Voltron, is taking shape. And yes, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when they finally are tested, especially on the defensive end, or on a night when maybe they're not knocking in 80% of their shots during a quarter. So no, I'm not saying that we cancel the rest of the season. But if that was Durant's first appearance with LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, and that's how they looked, if that group is looking like that on their first night together, look the hell out. If that's how they look, as they're coming together and starting to gel, the hell are they going to look like when they are officially a finished product? Again, I'll be clear about this. Running up the score on the 11 seed does not mean we crown their ass. I mean, the West is deep, but it's not that deep. And yes, there are still questions surrounding this team, and they do have to still prove it when it matters most. But that is a warning shot to the rest of the league, because Durant is back. He looks as good as he's ever looked. And if the beard comes back and has a similar impact, then we're talking about a basketball Voltron that is pretty damn near complete. And an absolute problem to anybody who steps on the floor with them, because it's no longer a question of do these pieces fit and can Steve Nash handle these egos as a first-time head coach. The pieces do fit, and Nash knows exactly what he's doing. I guess what I'm trying to say is these cats might be the ones to beat. And there's no doubt in my mind, I can say this much for certain, they can run the Lakers out of the gym on some nights. Question is, can they do it 4 times in 7 nights? And the more I watch these guys, the more I think they might be able to. The thing I still need to see is how Nash and the big three operate in late game pressure situations. You know, whether or not Nash can make the kind of adjustments that they need to make over a 7-game series. But if they're up 30 every single night, it might not matter. And they might be. Because right now they are that scary. I'll tell you this, Braun may have thought that number 5 was in the bag coming into this season, and I guarantee he's not thinking that anymore. Nor should anybody else. These guys might be the ones to beat.